everyone, this is Chazakis with another observation. Well, I guess it's really more of a rant, so call it what you will. Anyway, the other night I was unwinding on YouTube when I randomly decided to check out my own subscribers. Now, I sometimes like to check out my fellow subscribers to the channels I like, and will usually find some great gems. I just hadn't done it in a while, much less to my own subscriber base. At least to the ones I can actually see. So I was poking through MissCyberPolice's channel. By the way, thank you, MissCyberPolice, for subscribing to me. It really does give me the warm fuzzies to have folks other than my friends and family subscribed. I think subscribers in general are underappreciated, especially by the top dogs of YouTube. Now, without any of us subscribing to each other, YouTube would not exist. Thank you to everyone who subscribed to me, whether your channel is public where I can see it or not. That's totally cool with me. Well, MissCyberPolice has a video where she poses a question to Mr. Repsion. For those of you who don't know, Mr. Repsion is a ranter with a fairly large following. I haven't checked out his channel since I unsubscribed to him months ago, because he recently has become better known for beating you over the head with his decision to become an atheist and talking about how he thinks suicide is a wonderful thing while repeatedly pushing back the deadline for committing it himself. No, I don't want him to commit suicide, and I'm not joking about this. He keeps talking about how he's going to kill himself. It might have changed, but I really don't give enough of a fuck anymore to find out, which is a crying shame because I thought he was a good ranter. Anyway, sorry for the slight digression. So, MissCyberPolice posted a video about a year ago with her questions to Mr. Repsion.
Hi Daniel, and my question for you is, as someone who is involved in the cosplay community, what are your views on people who are overweight and cosplay? Now, I know you mentioned in one of your other videos that when you cosplay you feel that people should accurately represent the character. So when they are like obese or overweight, do you think that prohibits them from accurately representing that character?
Now, I haven't checked Mr. Repsion's channel to see if he answered MissCyberPolice's question. I really don't care what his opinion is on this matter. When I watched it, it sparked a response out of me because I certainly have a thing or two to say on this topic. I find it incredibly snobby and elitist for someone to come down on someone else because their costume isn't perfect or they happen to be obese. They have this mindset that a cosplayer must look exactly like the anime character they are portraying. If you've got this mindset, you really need to get your head surgically removed from your ass because the noxious fumes have killed over half your brain cells, in case you weren't aware of it. Let's start with the obvious. It's nearly impossible to look exactly like any anime character. Most anime are so far removed from reality that you can't go the reverse and expect the real world to be capable of emulating that. Not unless someone eventually invents a computer program that will create a hologram around your body so you can literally walk around as your favorite character as a sort of avatar. Typically, anime characters are disproportionate. You won't find those eyes in the real world, and a lot of character body types are too extreme in terms of torso girth and the length and width of limbs. Hair color. Yeah, you can use wigs, but they can get pretty pricey. Depends on where you look. Some of them I found have been pretty cheap. However, if you're going to use the argument that cosplay must be genuine all the way through, then you'd have to say that if you can't match a character's hairstyle perfectly, then you must have your hair styled and colored that way. Now that can get really expensive and difficult to accomplish, as certain dyes are banned to use as a hair color in the US. If it seems I'm being nitpicky, I'm not any worse than the canon snobs who believe only people with a certain body type can cosplay as certain characters. With that kind of thinking, you'd have to rule out anyone who isn't of Japanese descent, as most anime is heavily influenced by Japanese culture, if not outright set in Japan. You'd also have to rule out any woman with a bust size smaller than a C cup, as chicks with abundantly bodacious tatas abound throughout anime. Especially in hentai, as it seems whenever a girl's shirt and bra comes off, she goes from a size A to triple D in 0.5 seconds. You'd also have to rule out those who dress as a character of the opposite gender. So that means guys can't dress as the female characters for yucks, and the girls can't dress as their favorite male character. Now, that's not even getting into costume quality. On the one hand, you can go the extremely lazy, albeit expensive route, and buy a costume ready-made. Despite said costume being expensive, they usually are pretty cheap looking. No better than your typical Halloween costume you can get at those seasonal stores that pop up for a couple months every year. We're not exactly talking theater quality, but despite paying out good money, usually they're pretty chintzy. On the other hand, you can try to make your own, but this is where those cosplay snobs start drowning in their mucus from turning their noses so high in the air. Not everyone knows how to sew. Even with the pattern, making clothes is not easy. Buying the material can be difficult and expensive if you're aiming toward being as authentic as possible. That's not even getting into the cost of the trims and accessories needed to complete the look. And if you're the typical anime and manga fan who's on a budget, and can barely afford said anime and manga, and have scraped, begged, and borrowed just to go to your nearest con, then you have to get creative to cosplay. It's a win in my book if you manage to accomplish your character's look with what you have, where anyone can readily recognize who you are trying to be. That should be applauded, not derided. Getting back to those people with the whole obese people shouldn't cosplay attitude. Fuck you. Get over that archaic prejudice that you have to be thin to be healthy and happy. That people are only going to like you if you're thin because they'll think you're prettier. That you can only be like everyone else if you're thin. I've known lots of thin people to be sickly or dying and or very unhappy. Some people were actually prettier when they were heavier. Having more around the middle doesn't make you any different. It just means more of you to love. Oh, and guess what? There are lots of thin assholes with ugly personalities that ruin that pretty facade. Get off your high horse that someone obese shouldn't cosplay because it wouldn't be true to the character. They're showing love to their favorite anime and really don't give a fuck whether you or anyone else approves. Very few are professional cosplayers, so why are you trying to hold the average fan up to those standards? You need to look in the mirror because I'm sure we all can easily find lots of flaws with your own cosplay. The biggest flaw being your hypocritical asshole attitude. Anime cosplayers are still treated as the bastard stepchildren of most big conventions. Mainstream comics, sci-fi, horror, etc. still get a lot more love than anime. So you're going to get down on someone who's doing their small part to bravely support the industry? Someone who has to put up with bigots like you who can't even go so far as to say, "Cool, I recognize your character. Pretty good for a first attempt." I got a great anecdote to share that's related to this. I went to my first anime convention in 2003. I loved it. The budget and distance usually prevents me from going to any even on a yearly basis. Well, at this con, there was a girl that I noticed who was dressed like Sailor Moon. She used her own blonde hair, no wigs or extensions, and she happened to be obese. Her costume wasn't by any means dead on to Sailor Moon, but it was easily recognizable that she was cosplaying as Sailor Moon. The skirt was the most noticeable difference. Sailor Moon wears that tiny little A-line miniskirt, and this girl was wearing a much longer, knee-length pencil skirt. I had noticed her because her slip was sliding down. I meant to go up to her to let her know about it, but lost track of her in the crowd. I saw her later on at the masquerade. Now, the masquerade at this convention was the costume/skit contest for the cosplayers. She was competing by lip-syncing the Sailor Moon theme song. Unfortunately, she got hit by a very bad case of stage fright, and you can tell she was very uncomfortable on stage. Think deer in the headlights. I don't blame her. It's not easy getting in front of even 20 people, much less a room with over 200 people crammed into it. Yet she soldiered through and got it done. So kudos to her. Well, the MC for this masquerade was this arrogant jackass who fancied himself a voice actor. In his spare time, he was doing characters for internet audio shows. Now, I'm not denigrating that. It's a great way to practice your voice work if you're really interested in it. But he was by no means a professional getting paid for it. He was definitely one of those guys who fancied himself as being the top dog when he really wasn't. Think the stereotypical jock in high school and you're starting to get the picture. He also thought he was funnier than he was and that everyone loved him. He was boring as hell and stupid. So this girl had done her thing, and later on toward the end of the masquerade, there was another girl dressed as Sailor Moon. Her costume was definitely more accurate by comparison, and she happened to be a lot thinner than the other girl. She didn't perform. If I remember correctly, she and her friends just posed for the judges and that was it. When everyone was gathered on the stage at the end of the masquerade for the encore, which actually they were just killing time because the judges weren't done yet, they hadn't announced the winners. The MC points at the second Sailor Moon, the thin one, and to the crowd, into the microphone, says, "Now that is how Sailor Moon is supposed to look like." Kid you not, that is exactly what he said. We all started booing his ass immediately. Then he tries downplaying it by claiming that I didn't mean it that way. Well, whether he meant it that way or not, he should have kept his damn mouth shut. He was cosplaying as one of the Oron High Host Club members. Yeah, wearing a blazer and slacks takes so much effort to pull off. So even for the sake of argument, he wasn't referring to the first girl's weight and was strictly criticizing her costume's construction. Who the fuck was he to say anything like that? He wasn't a judge. If the first girl didn't make her costume exact to Sailor Moon, does it mean that she put any less thought or effort into it? Not to me. She was still recognizable as Sailor Moon, and chances are that her personal beliefs prevented her from wearing a shorter skirt. Basically what it boils down to is you don't have to praise someone if their costume comes off as half-assed to you. But don't go out of your way to tear them down because it doesn't meet your snooty standards or you feel they are too heavy to accurately portray the character. They're out there showing love to their favorite anime and manga, promoting it, doing their part to support the industry so we can all keep getting said anime and manga distributed here in the States. But if you think someone is too fat to cosplay, then you should be drowned for being stupid. If you're going to make the claim that someone can't do something because of weight, then it's no different than me saying you're stupid and shouldn't be allowed to live. You're incapable of functioning with the rest of us and should be put out of your misery for the benefit of the world. And if you think that sounds incredibly stupid, then now you know exactly what you sound like to the rest of us. Take that as what you will, folks, and adios!